This is Toledo Symphony Lab, a behind-the-scenes look at the world of classical music from WGTE Public Media and your Toledo Symphony. I'm Brad Cresswell. Joining me today are the Toledo Symphony's president and CEO Zach Vassar, principal second violin and artistic administrator Merwin Sue, and the TSO's marketing director Felicia Canny. We also have a special guest on the phone with us today. That is the pianist Jon Nakamatsu. Hello, John.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. You're out west in sunny California right now, right?
Rainy California, but happy nonetheless.
Oh, don't you even?
What's snowing here?
It'll be sunny by the time this gets on the radio. John is coming into town to perform with the Toledo Symphony on March 23rd and 24th. That's this weekend, Friday and Saturday night at 8 o'clock p.m. at the Paris Style. Just a really rich, fun program here. Music of Franz Liszt, his Totentanz, or the Dance of Death. We also have Rachmaninov's Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini. That's sort of a dance of death, too. And then the Symphonie Fantastique of Hector Berlioz.
Which includes a dance to death.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. So we have the common theme for our podcast today.
It's a romantic weekend at the symphony.
It's like come to die.
Come to die.
Well, it's kind of funny because our last classics concert was all about the seven deadly sins, and now we have Judgment and the Day of Wrath. It's really
perfect. It's a Lenten promise.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Timing is kind of great, right?
See,
you're the marketing person.
We're
You
about
should have
2 minutes in. 2 minutes in, and Felicia is already scandalized.
That must be a new record.
Yeah. So Jon Nakamatsu is the pianist for two works, the Totentanz and the Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini. Those two certainly tied together by this Dies Irae theme. I want to talk about Dies Irae. And who wants to tell us what that is for folks who don't know?
Well, it's a piece of Gregorian chant. I'm waiting for Merwin to look at me if I get something wrong here, which was the basically the music for the Day of Judgment. And no fair, I want to point out that he and Felicia have program notes in front of them. I'm completely going off the top of my head here, but there. So yes, the Dies Irae shows up in the Totentanz, in the Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini, and in the Berlioz. But there's actually another layer of why that's meaningful. Is that in the Berlioz, there's this whole idea of the idée fixe, which is the music of his beloved that shows up throughout the Berlioz Symphony. But we made our own idée fixe by having the Dies Irae show up at all points of this concert.
Wow.
So it's meta, but it's meta.
Profound. What do you think of that, John?
Well, I think it's a really great way to show off, I think, the genius of these composers, because the theme appears in all of these guises, but sometimes it's almost so buried within the texture of other things that you're listening to that you don't even know it's there. But it's amazing how much music and how much variation is actually built on this one idea. And just along with the theme of variations, the two works that I'm playing are basically sets of variations themselves. So, it's a really a neat kind of way to tie everything together. I think the audience will really enjoy kind of the thread throughout the evening. It's a good one to follow.
Well, who can, just to acclimate us to the melody itself, who can sing it for us? Anybody know it? You going to force me to do it?
You're the singer.
No?
I am the singer.
You are the singer.
How's that?
I need
Nice. Well
Is that your ringtone?
That. It needs to be my ringtone. I love that.
Can you make
Who's
it mine?
calling my wife?
I need to get that on my soundboard. Yeah, who do you assign that ringtone to?
Certainly not your wife.
Listen, John, you could do a whole set of ringtones at the piano
right.
for us.
That's my next life, I think.
Yeah. So
Knock a ringtone.
That's the tune. That's the tune. If we were to sing it, we'd say Dies Irae, Dies Irae, Solve Heseglu, Min Favila, Teste Davi, Cum Sibila, right?
And I think what you just sang is the opening of the list. So, the audience won't be able to miss this. At least that's the opening piano. Yeah.
It's not a subtle tune.
It's not very subtle.
Yeah.
It is more subtle in the Rachmaninov. It's hidden in and around, and I think it's only at the end. John, you might know better about that, more about that.
No, it comes actually. It comes in the middle. The pianist has one variation where the first part of it is pounded out, kind of in staggered rhythm. So you'll hear it, but it's a little bit more clear at the end when it comes back in a very loud way. But it's all there, kind of throughout. So it'll be a challenge to. Maybe we could have a contest, like a
where's Waldo?
Where's Death? Where's Death?
Where's Deb? Oh
Where's
my
the Reaper?
God.
Where's the Grim Reaper?
We'll give
And
everybody
then he will
paddles.
appear in the audience.
Yeah, we'll give everyone paddles with a Grim Reaper, and when they hear it, they should raise it in the air. Is this a bad idea? This is a bad idea.
I think we have time to make this.
I think
this
so.
all happen.
We have nothing
Felicia.
else going on.
Felicia, you have to get on this, I think.
Yes, I have time. We can have it.
Guys, this could have been a whole, this could have been a months-long, promotion. Where's the Grim Reaper? And pictures of him in various places around Toledo.
Oh, that'd be
Well,
so
it'll look
cute.
great in the peristyle, where it's almost like a Roman Colosseum, so people with knives and all kinds of things, just like holding them up. It'll be fantastic.
It's perfect.
We can do, how people reenact those paintings from their youth? We can sort of like try to reenact some Hieronymus Bosch paintings and see if we can come
Reenact paintings from your youth.
up with...
Yeah, I don't know about this.
don't know.
I wanted to ask you about that, but I didn't want to be the only one to say that I don't know what you're talking
It sounds
about.
like an
Well,
Arrested Development sketch.
listen.
Isn't that
Wow,
like
this
where?
is very like
Is your last name Bluth? What are you doing?
Yeah, I feel like
Let's
This is the
tableau
Brad's
vivant
like,
section
come
of the concept.
let's try again. Let me try that again. People, how people reenact pictures, photographs from their youth?
oh
Not
yes,
paintings.
Oh, okay,
yes,
gotcha,
like
gotcha,
in
gotcha.
bathtubs,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Wait,
With their
bathtubs.
siblings.
No, it's like the Flintstones.
No,
when
like
they
with the
chisel it
siblings,
out of
and then
a
you're
piece of
like
granite.
in the same positions as when
Yes.
you were.
Yeah,
No one?
the leap to
No.
the bathtub. I think that's
Okay.
a question for you and your therapist to talk
No.
about next week.
Felicia, you're on the same page. You understand what I'm talking about.
I think so.
People that, with their siblings or whatever, they have the family photos when they're
Right.
young,
Yes.
right? I just said paintings because I was thinking of
That
paintings.
that's how your family works.
Yeah, so
That's what
the,
you have at home.
yes, Etch-a-Sketch, right? Reenact the Etch-a-Sketch, tying into a
So
little...
Rachmaninov.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
One of the things I love about this program is that it's for me, it's a lot of the music that I associate with these great living stereo recordings from the 60s. This was very popular classical music in the early days of recording, and the Rhapsody and the Theme of Paganini is and always has been a showpiece. The Berlioz was a kind of a demonstration LP for the stereo speakers that were coming out at that time. How loud can you make it, and how subtle can you make the quiet parts? And then the Totentanz was kind of a calling card for Byron Janis at that point. I think he recorded a couple times with Fritz Reiner.
Yeah. Now, there are a couple different versions of that Totentanz, right? I mean, there's one with orchestra and one without orchestra.
Right. There are several versions. In fact, I think Liszt was revising it for years before he kind of settled onto a couple final versions. And yes, there are even versions with two pianos, although that's kind of more like the piano and orchestra version. But it's amazing piano writing, and Dancing with Death is also a theme for the soloist, because you're kind of doing that the whole time and on stage. So we'll see what happens if I survive.
Do you think you could do us a favor and maybe for the concerts just show up like in a black robe with a hood?
How do you know that's not what he typically wears?
Come walking out with the what do you call it? The reaper,
The Sith?
Yeah, the scythe.
Scythe.
Come walking out with a
It's
scythe.
like an axe.
Lay it down.
Sorry.
A scaffold. He'll come up with a scaffold for the.
A cannoli, something like that.
I want to know your Grim Reaper.
Yeah, yeah. I think that would be a fantastic visual for this
I'll do.
concert. See what you can do about that.
Okay, I'll try.
Now, I have put together a supercut of different quotations of the Dies Irae in music, and because it's appeared in so many different pieces of music, so many composers have quoted it not only in classical works, but also in film scores. You hear it a lot in just about every horror movie, from the 60s through the 90s. They used the Dies Irae chant theme. So I have a supercut here. It's just about 3 minutes long. We're going to play little bits and pieces of the Dies Irae, and I'll leave the mics open so we can talk about it while we listen to it, but let's see if we can identify any of these. Are everybody ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Here we go.
Yep.
That's me in a shower.
Yeah. This is the actual original chant. And we'll progress from there. That's from a movie score. The opening of a film.
And now we're in the Berlioz.
Yeah. First one was The Shining.
Shining, that's what I thought it was. I knew it was Kubrick, and I was trying to figure out that I could see the black screen and the words.
Is this Dead Elvis?
Yeah. Dead Elvis.
We can't seem to get away from Lowell Lieberman.
Michael Dougherty.
That's
Michael Dougherty. All right, we can't get away from him either.
This one is more obscure.
I totally missed that one. What was that one?
Now you have to recognize that.
Well, that's a list.
Yeah.
Was that Austin Powers before?
No. But John, I was hoping you would get this one.
We can see how much he's been practicing.
This one's really hard.
I'm going to guess the soundtrack to Rebecca.
Close. Pressure's on, Merwin.
Is the Milstein transcription?
No,
It's not a
Did you
Milstein.
say?
that's
Oh
right.
yeah, Isabella. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of these eyes. The Obsession. Isaiah Obsession. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we're to what John was talking
Rachmaninov.
about. Yeah.
This is Paganini Rhapsody. Extra points if you identify the pianist.
This is Jon Nakamatsu.
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay.
Van
that's
Cliburn.
the end. No, it was Philippe Entremont.
Oh,
That was
that
Philadelphia.
was my seventh,
I
I
think.
guess.
Yeah. But a couple that we missed. The first one back there that nobody got was Respighi, Brazilian Impressions, for some reason.
not gotten that.
I'm not quite sure where the Dies Irae theme comes into that, his musical portrait of Brazil.
I think every time Brad tries to have a single moment where all of us are going, huh. And I think Respighi Brazilian Impressions was it.
Yeah, that's right. That's a safe bet.
The Stumper.
Every time I stump you, an angel gets its wings, which is
In
a
related
clue.
news.
Which is a clue, actually, to one of the excerpts that we heard, the one that sounded very mono. That
The,
was from the soundtrack for
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful
The thing
Life.
that I guess was Rebecca.
Really?
Yeah,
Interesting.
Dmitri Tiomkin
Wow.
composed the score for that, and it's a scene where he realizes that he wants to live. He's like, I want to live. He's praying over the bridge, and that plays in the background.
Interesting.
Interesting choice.
Yeah.
And the other thing that we didn't get, which surprised me, perhaps if I played the part that leads into what we heard, you would have gotten it. It goes like this: da 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 da, boom 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 boom. That's Star Wars.
Star Wars.
I thought you were going to have some school children's songs, because this theme actually crops up like during Halloween a lot.
Really?
Yeah,
Do
there's one
tell.
like
Give
the
us an
Ghost
example.
of John. Not Jon Nakamatsu. I am so sorry. JOHN.
John, aren't you happy you participated?
Got scared.
You're like, what am I getting myself into in Toledo?
Once again. So just an example there and there are dozens, maybe even hundreds more examples of how that Dies Irae is used in the Franz Liszt piece. Jon, tell us a little bit about your history with this Totentanz, first of all, because it's such a fantastic piece of music, and it doesn't seem like it's performed all that often, is it?
No, I don't get to play it very often, but the first time I played it was actually in a concert paired with the Liszt Second Piano Concerto. So usually it's paired with something, and I've actually done it in another place with the Rachmaninov. So it's a short piece, and it doesn't last more than 15 minutes, and it's pretty dramatic and I would say forward-looking throughout, but it's definitely a test of stamina and I think coordination between the orchestra and the soloist. In fact, both works are really only successful in performance if there's this chamber-like atmosphere on stage, because there's so much give and take, and it's often very, very quick. And so we're on our toes basically for the entire piece. So there are not a lot of moments for us to rest. So and I speak for all of us, because it's, as much as the piano is kind of in the forefront, it's really in many ways only providing texture to what's going on in the orchestra. So the other thing to look for in this concert is how well both of these pieces are orchestrated, and how I think intelligently the piano is incorporated into that texture. It's a lot of fun to play.
Where does this fall in his compositional sequence? Is this before the concerti, in the middle, or after?
No, it's after, because the premiere was like 1865. So he had already done his important orchestral works with piano, and this was really an interesting way of.
These are both kind of like codas to the great performing virtuosi, right? Like they're Like I think the Rachmaninov as well is kind of a capper on the concerti.
Yes, this was composed after his last concerto, the fourth piano concerto, which actually was not ever popular, and still really in today's world isn't so popular. It never achieved the heights of the third and the second piano concertos, but this kind of brought him back into the composer spotlight. This work, I think, is one of his Rachmaninoff's most admired works of all his compositions, because of how tightly everything is integrated and constructed. It's even for people who don't like Rachmaninoff, I think there's something to grab onto in this piece for them. I think everybody has tremendous respect for the integrity of this piece.
Wait a minute. There are people who don't like Rachmaninoff?
Oh, I meet them all the time, yes.
Really?
You poor thing.
They just pass you on the street and they're like, I don't like Rachmaninoff.
They wear shirts. They do all kinds of things. It's a cult.
Must be San Jose.
Wait, what do the shirts say? I have to know.
No, I don't know.
I'm with.
Really,
they have a picture of a really
Beethoven.
ugly-looking guy, and they have a big red line through the middle in the circle.
The international symbol for no.
We only like pianists whose hands can span less than a ninth.
That's right.
Yeah.
Too much is cheating.
Wow.
I would like that club, but
we can get that ready for you. We'll have that right along with our paddles with death on them.
I can't wait.
Jon, have you ever played the Liszt and the Rachmaninoff in the same program before?
Once before, I have done that, and it's exhausting. I mean, because both pieces in some ways are like a sprint. It's all the material gets thrown out there in a very short period of time. Both pieces are not that long. But unlike a concerto where there's kind of this long development of material and built-in places for you to rest, there is almost no rest for the soloist in either of these pieces. So, and you're stretched to the max. I mean, Zach was talking about small hands. A lot of this music is written for not necessarily beyond an octave, but for people who could play beyond an octave. So the issue of strength and stamina is really one that gets tested in this particular combination.
So, Zach, this is why I talked you out of adding a third piece.
Oh
Brahms too.
I'm totally kidding.
Yeah, Brahms too. That would be a nice little chest.
Dead Elvis. That would have been a good shot there.
Exactly.
Michael Dougherty bring out the bassoonist.
So John, complete the sentence. When I looked at Toledo's lineup and I realized I was going to have to do the Totentanz and the Rhapsody and Theme of Paganini, I felt
deathly ill.
I feel the need to have some sort of nourishment close to the stage and just like.
So there's
feed.
definitely.
I'm going to have a big roast chicken right next to me on the stage.
But you do have in the Rachmaninov, you have sort of a little bit of a rest in that hypnotic section that leads up to the 18th variation.
Yeah, but that isn't a rest because that's a memory minefield. So that's almost the other type of stress, is that there's no room to just let down for a moment. Like, with Rachmaninoff, the writing is so chromatic and intricate that you have to, it's in a way like Bach, where you have to be on top the entire time. There are no kind of repeated left-hand patterns that just go on for, bars and bars and bars. It's every single pattern is unique, and so for that reason, even something that's slow and you would think relaxing, we aren't so relaxed up there.
So you're just, while you're playing it, you're worried that you're going in the right direction with all those. Yeah,
we're always worried about that, even in life. But,
John, you've played the Rhapsody enough times. What are you thinking? What's going through your mind when you get to the 18th variation, that gorgeous, gorgeous moment in classical music? Do you have a moment to sit and appreciate it while you're playing all of those impossible notes?
Well, that for sure, because again, the treatment of the material is so amazing. He's just flipping the pattern of this Paganini caprice to get this incredible melody.
Can you play it out on the piano for us, just the melody for folks who don't know, so they can hear it?
I'll run to my piano.
You mean you don't have one next to you?
And so forth.
Zach wants to know if you know any Frank Sinatra.
I bet Frank Sinatra knew Rachmaninoff. That's for sure.
Yeah, maybe.
So I do. The other thing is, as Brad said, that 17th variation kind of melts right into the material of the 18th, and that is magical transformation. You go from this B flat minor, kind of dark, very chromatic, very ruminating sound, to suddenly the light kind of going on. It's brilliant, and the audience, you can feel the audience just kind of come with you that whole way. It's a very rewarding piece to play. But as I said, it's quite compelling and demanding. But that's what we're paid for.
Yeah, I love the ending of it, where you have just that little lick at the very end.
Yeah. I often think that Rachmaninoff should win the award for the most creative ender of all composers. There's never just 5-1. There's always something really interesting about how even the solo piano works. There's nothing. It just doesn't stop. It's not about just finishing the piece. There's creativity and just thought through to the last note, and I find that so great. And even in this piece, it ends really quietly for all that bombast, and it surprises some people who don't know the piece, and it makes a lot of people laugh, and I think it's great.
So is there something to be said about that? At the end of the second or the third concerto, you're on your feet, people are screaming. It's the sort of thing that just sends people into this sort of response where they can't keep it bottled in anymore.
That's
For
right.
the Rhapsody, it's almost like a raspberry. He's winking at the audience with this kind of funny ending, and people chuckle, and then do you feel that people say, "Oh, that's it," and then they start applauding?
Yeah, well, sometimes it catches people off guard. It does sound like an ending, but then it all of a sudden just stops. And it's supposed to be funny, but people kind of wonder, really, is that it? Because also, since the piece is played without break, really,
Right.
and it's not terribly long, people wonder, really, is that it? Do we have to go out now? Or I don't really. So it's just, it's surprising, and it's inventive, and I don't think anything's quite paralleled that in that way. So with that amount of success, actually.
Well, you hear those two themes at the very end, the Dies Irae very strongly, and then the Paganini theme coming in as well. And it just sounds like a little bit of a shoving match between the two until the very end, and then Paganini's like, oh, by the way,
right.
Gets in that the last word. So it's very subtly crafted. A great moment in that piece. We have just a few minutes left, and I don't know, do we want to say anything about the Berlioz Symphonie Fantastique? Everything you ever wanted to know in 2 minutes? Berlioz was crazy. Can we say that? He was absolutely off his rocker.
He was obsessed with a woman who he actually married in real life. This is the story of his infatuation with her. There's an opium-induced haze. So I think he imagines that he kills her, or is there an accidental death or something, and then he thinks he gets marched to the scaffold and he's burned by witches or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of different.
That's my 2-minute version.
Well, that's where the Dies Irae comes in, and the Witch's Sabbath comes in. The Witch's Sabbath in the Symphonie Fantastique. Yeah, he was obsessed with this Irish actress,
Harriet Smithson.
Yeah, they eventually got married, although it didn't end very well.
Well, but here's the thing: I never realized this until I was reading the program notes. See, I read them too. They were married for quite a while for there to be such a disastrous marriage. I mean, it's a famously disastrous marriage, probably given how aggressively it started.
Well, she didn't speak French and he didn't speak English, so I think that probably helped.
Like all great romances.
Yeah.
They just shrug and politely look at each other.
Yeah, but the music is fantastic.
I think it's fantastique.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Fantastic.
You can't set me up like that.
What do you think, John? You have anything to say about Symphonie Fantastique? Are you just going to be like backstage having a whiskey at that point?
Well, I'll probably be hooked up to IVs, but yeah.
I love it.
I love how I like how your humanity is torn through these two pieces. I think what you should do is tell us how complicated the piano part is for the Fantastique.
Now, John, you've been in Toledo before, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and you now, did you know Zach before? I heard somebody saying that you guys knew each other.
I was John's artist liaison.
Yeah, when he picked me up from the airport, and he was just, I thought just the cutest little guy, back then.
I remember telling him, because John walked right by me, and I said, Mr. Nakamatsu, I'm so sorry. I was looking for somebody taller. That's where my tact was.
Is that what you said?
I did, and he spun around and he said, well, I was looking for somebody older. I think I was a sophomore in college at this point.
Wow.
So are
you going to pick him up again this time, Zach?
We'll see. It depends if he's grown. Are you still the same height?
Wow, that escalated quickly, or de-escalated, as the case may be.
Yeah.
Well, the concerts again are this weekend, March 23rd and 24th, Friday and Saturday, 8 o'clock p.m. at the Toledo Museum of Art, Paris style. Alain Trudel is at the podium. Jon Nakamatsu is at the piano. Wonderful program. More information at toledosymphony.com or 419-246-8000. Toledo Symphony Lab is generously underwritten by a gift from the estate of Barbara Garwood and is a production of WGTE Public Media in collaboration with our sponsor, the Toledo Symphony. You can download episodes of this program as a podcast at our website at wgte.org/lab or by subscribing to us on Apple Podcasts. My thanks to Zach Vassar, Merwin Siu, Felicia Canyon, and especially to you, Jon Nakamatsu. Thank you for joining us by phone today. We look forward to having you here in Toledo.
My great pleasure. I look forward to it.
I'm Brad Cresswell. You've been listening to Toledo Symphony Lab here on FM 91.